Why was Crooks able to fly a drone over the entire area the day of the rally and the day of his assassination attempt?
To my knowledge, he did not fly the drone over the entire area.
How did he fly a drone over the area, period? Any part of the area?
Again, I would have to go back and check the timeline of when that took place and when the event.
Why didn't you bring the timeline with you today to answer our questions?
I don't have all of the answers on the timelines based on the criminal investigation.
Were you not prepared today to answer our questions?
I am prepared to answer the questions based on the information and wanted to be able to provide.
Do you have a timeline do you have a timeline at all from any of the day?
I have a timeline that does not have specifics.
That's shocking. That is absolutely unacceptable. That means you are a failure at your job.
You are a failure at your job. Wise words from MTG. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, the radio show, and right here on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, all that fun stuff. And so to make sure you guys do not miss a minute of anything we're going to be talking about, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. Make sure you guys subscribe and ring that notification bell, hit it to all, because we know that ScrewTube likes to keep me off of your feed, but that's because I share things that no one else will, and faster than anyone else will. In fact, I even have a breaking news report. I am live right here, and so guys, give me your comments. Let me know what you guys have to say. But breaking news, and this has to do with what I just shared, but breaking news. In fact, I literally just got this right before I came on stream. This is why I was late coming on. I know my plan was to be on by 6:30, but we have breaking news. The body cam footage from the rooftop after the Trump shooting has been released. This is the body cam footage from the Trump shooting. I have not even watched all of it yet. You've seen as much as I have. We're going to bring it up right here so we can all watch. This is the body cam footage in Butler, PA. Let's take a look right here.
So this is the guy that
yes, that they sent yes, Beaver County sniper scene and sent the pictures out. This is him.
Okay.
Rifle's right there, obviously.
Got it. So the bike in the back. Is he on that bike?
We don't know.
We don't know. So
I don't know.
Treating that as suspicious device.
Oh, 1 second. I believe the sniper that seen these and sent the pictures is right inside this building. Michelle, is Greg in there? All right, so if you go to that window that's open and yell for Greg, that's the sniper that sent the original pictures and seen him come from the bike and set the book back down and then lost sight of him.
Okay.
He's the one that sent the pictures out. I don't know if you got the same ones I did.
I think I did, yeah. He's got his glasses on and he's
So we had the picture of that.
I got that.
Okay, and then this is his bike with the stuff. And our sniper seen him walking away from that, I believe.
Okay.
But he would be right inside that window. He's the one that physically seen this, sent the pictures, and called it out.
Okay, so, and we have somebody detained, correct?
That I don't know.
People detained on this side. All right. Our guy that was just up here told me that there's a guy detained who's the owner of the bike. And I said, no, I think that's the owner of the bike. Yeah, basically,
we've been up here, so we wouldn't know that information.
We just hauled ass. We got over
here.
Right.
Got it.
We hopped up on it.
Yeah. Is that all your stuff? That was one of our. Yeah. So someone came up looking to treat him.
Yes.
Copy. Gas is off to the building, just so you know.
Thank you. Yeah, they do. I talked to those people detained were filming. Maybe they were involved. Maybe they weren't.
Other than that, I haven't heard anybody.
I think it's the guys that saw them filming were like, oh, they were filming us, and then filming the guy up on the roof, and then filming us, and then when the shots started firing, they tried to run away.
They know nothing. They literally know nothing.
I'm not saying they weren't involved, but you know what I mean. Like that.
It's up in the air right now, right?
Right. So I got no problem detaining them. Again, I'm just trying to detain those guys, find out what they know, who they are, whatever. I'm trying to get clear information to relate.
Yeah, so much for the sloped roof.
We have one shooter deceased.
They all seem to be standing up there just fine.
Victims,
That I'm not sure.
So I heard 1 deceased, 2 life flighted.
I know 2 helicopters did take off.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how many
Hello.
victims.
3 are deceased.
We have access to a drone. What is this water tower?
Any LE?
So,
I will try to.
as we're seeing in the conversation playing out, it would seem as though
In the van.
no one knows what's going on.
Did he survive? Copy.
They're making their best guesses. No one knows what's going on. Obviously, the sloped roof is not the reason why they couldn't have anyone stationed up there. And we've gotten little to no answers from now disgraced former Secret Service director Kim Cheatle. And we're going to talk all about her today. I know I did not cover her last night on my stream because I was discussing everything regarding Biden's dropping out. But this is just breaking news. This is the body cam footage released from immediately after the shooting, in which we could see in Butler, Pennsylvania, in which we can see that Secret Service, local PD responders to the situation, they recognize, even in that video, you hear them talking, there were people videotaping, the shooter. People knew that this was happening, and yet Trump was still allowed to go on stage. No one notified Trump of the imminent threat. The threat was known. The threat was known. As Marjorie Taylor Greene said in the opening clip that I played, what a colossal failure. Kimberly Cheatle failed to do her job. And both Democrats and Republicans recognize this. And so now we're going to go through some of the highlights of the of what we saw yesterday. And so what did we exactly see yesterday? Well, I'm going to bring this one up to get it ready. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle resigned. Well, this is really today. Resigned today, Tuesday, July 23rd, as she faced backlash over the security failure underlying the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump earlier this month. The decision came after Cheatle appeared for a hearing before the House Oversight Committee and testified that the Secret Service, quote, failed its mission to protect leaders under its charge. Both Democrats and Republicans had called on Cheatle to step down. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio is one of the people that grilled Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle on Monday about whether or not her agency turned down the Trump securities team request for more agents before a would-be assassin's bullet struck former President Donald Trump. Now, these clips that I am going to play are longer. This is going to be a breakdown of both Democrats and Republicans questioning the Secret Service Director. I started prepping some of this before the director even stepped down. However, we're going to incorporate and discuss how even stepping down makes some of this richer and the things we need to remember about this questioning, because just because the Secret Service director stepped down does not mean there are not more questions to answer regarding this. And so let's start off. This is Jim Jordan of Ohio, fiery, great representative. Let's take a look and listen to his questioning.
The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, the assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false. The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said that is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed. But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel. The next day, the New York Times said this: Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail. So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question.
Well, what were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests,
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson?
See, here's the thing, and she's going to keep going. But here, I can give you basically everything that happened yesterday. Not a single question was well answered. Not a single question by Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle, former Secret Service Director, was well answered. It was either deferred to the FBI, lied, or worked around. Never directly answered. A lot of the questions, even the questions Jim Jordan asked, how many people or how many times? Not a single time was answered. Was it this or that? Neither. Well, then what was it? I can't answer that. This is how she operates. Look, what I will say is we need a little bit more service and a lot less secrets out of this director.
He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what did you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on.
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is.
Well, and this is going to come up more than once. It's not just one time. And Marjorie Taylor Greene even hinted at earlier. Like, without having all the details in front of you, I'm sorry, but you came here to give this testimony. You knew this testimony was happening. I'm not sure if you can see it in this video. We'll see it at some point in one of my other ones, I know. But she doesn't have much in front of her. Just a small statement, it looks like, maybe a small folder. She could have come in with everything that she possibly had. However, she did not. She was not prepared. The director was not prepared. Also, this isn't even something you should need notebooks full of information on. I mean, this happened 10 days ago. It should be relatively fresh in your mind, and it is one of the most historic events to happen of the 21st century. The only assassination attempt against a current or former president of the 21st century. Like, you would think you would know pretty much every minute detail being the director of the Secret Service. You'd think. But one thing she doesn't seem to do is think.
That there are times.
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service talking. And what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
I hear your frustration.
Let me ask you this. Were any of those requests denied to President Trump's detail after you knew about the Iranian threat?
What I can tell you, again, I don't know the specifics, is that there are times when we can fill a request. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a Secret Service asset or resource. We can fill that request with locally available assets.
You spoke to anyone at the White House since July 13th?
Yes, I have.
Who'd you talk to?
I have briefed the president and the vice president.
Talk to the First Lady?
No, I have not.
Talk to the White House staff? Anyone in the White House communications?
No, I have not.
Have you talked to the counter sniper who took the shot that took out the bad guy?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us about that conversation?
I would not want to reveal conversations that I've had with my employees.
But that's exactly the kind of information the American people want to know. American people who pay your salary.
I understand this is an ongoing investigation, and I
Who's
want,
all doing the investigating at Secret Service? I know the Inspector General, but is there also an internal investigation in addition to the Inspector General?
we are conducting a mission assurance investigation internally, yes.
You know what it looks like, Director? It looks like you won't answer some pretty basic questions. It looks like you got a 9% raise and you cut corners when it came to protecting one of the most important individuals, most well-known individuals on the planet. A former president, likely the guy's going to be the next president. Looks like you guys were cutting corners. That's what it looks like to me. Is that true?
I am here today because I want to answer questions, but I also want to be
You
cautious.
might want to, but you haven't answered. I don't think you've answered one question from the chairman, the ranking member, or me. Well, we got a lot of other people asking. We'll see if your record improves, but right.
And he's absolutely right. And I'll show you. The record doesn't improve. Even when she's asked by Democrats who you'd assume to have softballs, the record does not improve. Questions were not answered. Questions are still had. But I think it's important to recognize the questions that were being asked, the attempt by our congressional officials, both ones that I agree with and disagree with, and exactly what they tried to do. Jim Jordan did a phenomenal job of at least pointing out things that we need to be constantly analyzing and thinking about when it comes to this. Another person, a friendly, Nancy Mace, also asked some phenomenal questions and even got quite fiery when it came to everything that she had to say. Let's take a look and a listen at her testimony. I do want to say Rep. Nancy Mace gave Secret Service Director Kim Cheatle no quarter during her Monday appearance on Capitol Hill, opening her line of questioning by asking whether Cheatle would like to use her allotted time to draft her resignation letter. It was quite clear Congress went in with a message for the director, and that message was heard clearly. But I actually believe, and as you listen to this, I believe that the director knew of her resignation prior to this testimony. I believe she was heavily leaning toward resigning prior to this testimony, but she wanted to see what she could get through, what it would be like, and what her, kind of pull the air after the testimony to see just how bad it would be. But I think she went in knowing she was probably going to resign, and that's why she went in basically stonewalling Congress with all of this. Let's take a look and listen at Nancy Mace's questioning with Kimberly Cheatle.
People are watching and they're wondering if there are any questions you can answer honestly today. So, Director Cheatle, I have a series of questions, very specific questions. I want very specific answers. Most of my questions are going to demand a yes or no answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, my first question. Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
It's fiery.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question. Yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent? Yes or no?
I have always been.
Yes
eager to
or no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer
to
the
committee.
question. We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours.
I want to go back briefly to that one moment, just not much further before here.
No.
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So,
For real, it honestly is. I have no idea how my statement got out. You definitely have some idea if it wasn't leaked directly by you. Who else would have had access to that statement? If you didn't write it, I mean, that would be one of my next questions. I know Nancy Mace didn't want to get caught up into it, but like, it's likely if this is your statement, it's assumed you wrote it. Who else would have had access to it? Who else would have let it go and let it leak? Who else? This would have been a private thing. Who else would have let it? So Nancy Mace is, it's pretty badass, pretty ballsy. Comes out and just says, that's bullshit. Amazing. Amazing.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours before this committee got your statement.
Without objection, so ordered.
Okay. Is the Secret Service fully cooperating with our committee?
Yes.
Okay, you say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day?
I want to keep letting her go, obviously, because this is amazing and just really fun to watch. But I think it's pretty important to recognize what Nancy Mace is doing in this. What Nancy Mace is doing here is she has recognized by now, because of all the other people, because you got to remember, these testimonies are hours and hours long. She's recognized by this point, everyone else has tried to ask good faith questions. Even Jim Jordan, who's pretty near the beginning, tried to ask good faith questions. Now Nancy Mace is out. And so it's kind of like how a regular courtroom operates. You have like the prosecutor and you have the defendant. And so the prosecutor asks many of the good faith questions to their witness. And so it's like, oh, what happened? Tell me what happened. Please tell me what happened. And then more of the defense comes at the witness, and the defense, or whoever is the cross-examining. I mean, I guess prosecution can be cross-examining. The cross-examiner comes in and they know all the answers and they're just trying to slip them up. And Cheatle is walking into all of it. Have you been transparent? Well, then why'd you do this? This does not seem transparent. I don't know. I guess I don't know how that happened. It's a fucking idiot. Pardon my French, but like, if you're not pissed off, let me be pissed off for you, because we should all be a little pissed off by this.
Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or
I
no?
will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest. Mr.
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
I want to,
Come on.
we have to maintain decorum in this committee,
Any,
no matter
have
how
you provided
upset we
any and
get.
all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. Like you're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions. Have you provided us all communications from the Secret Service related to that day and that rally? Have you provided this committee? We've asked for this information on July 15th. Have you provided any of this information that this committee has asked of the Secret Service? Any of it?
I'll have to get back to you.
Have you even read this letter that we sent you? Did you even read this?
Yes.
Okay. And you have said you don't know, you have no idea. Well, the answer is no. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for. So was this attempted assassination of Donald Trump a failure of training or execution or both?
I think that those are answers that we need to
Training,
examine.
execution, or both?
I think this is, again, I'm going to rewind so we can get the full thing, because I think this is really where the culmination. I mean, the way that Nancy Mace is going through this line of questioning is absolutely genius. I mean, she goes she goes from point to point to point to point in creating almost a narrative to where it's like, you failed on every front. You failed to communicate. You failed to be transparent. And now you failed even in your job from day one. It's culminating to this point. To this point. Because what are the three things she asks about? It's 1, 2, and both. What are those?
Assassination of Donald Trump, a failure of training or execution or both?
Training, execution, or both? Now, once again, Kimberly Cheatle tries to dodge and weave around the question and instead has a brick wall known as Nancy Mace. a fiery woman that is going to stand in her way. Let's take a look.
I think that those are answers that we need to
Training,
examine.
execution, or both? Which one?
I think those are answers.
All
we
right.
need
How
to
many
determine.
Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure?
At this time, none.
How many Secret Service personnel have been required to take a refresher course on how not to let people shoot Donald Trump?
Our personnel are currently operational. We are examining the facts of this investigation, and we will make the changes necessary.
What time did law enforcement become aware that there was an individual on the roof with a clear line of sight to President Trump?
I am still verifying timelines.
Of course, 9 days in, you have no answers. How many minutes went by between the time law enforcement saw and took photos of crooks and the shooting? How many minutes?
I am still verifying timelines.
57 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Isn't that crazy? Like, even like she has the answer of this is the timelines, and this is what it's doing is at this point, it's not even showing the witness being, it's not even showing how the witness is asking the witness any kind of question or anything like that. No, at this point, it's about showing that the witness has no or is not cooperating whatsoever. That's really what it is. Because if she was cooperating, then she would have come in some way prepared. She would have come with any type of answer, period. Even just a simple timeline. MTG asked for a timeline. No timeline given. Nancy Mace even says, can you give me this one specific part of the timeline? When did Secret Service actually become aware? At what point did they know? 57 minutes. Even Nancy Mace knew it. It is Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle. It was her job prior to her resignation. It was her job to know that answer. She's a failure, an absolute failure. And the thing is even Democrats saw this, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I want to be clear, we're not going to watch all of AOC's testimony, but we're going to see as to what the kinds of things she said in it. Because many Democrats after this testimony came out and called for the resignation of Kimberly Cheatle. I want to talk about exactly what these individuals said, though. And so let's start off with AOC. She did have, I'll admit, she had a good line of questioning at the beginning and through it. But let's actually see what she said and then analyze the purpose for Democrats uniting with Republicans on this one. Take a look and a listen.
So the notion of a report coming out in 60 days when the threat environment is so high in the United States, irrespective of party, is not acceptable. And I think it's very important to understand that. This is not theater. This is not about jockeying. This is about the safety of some of the most highly targeted and valued targets internationally and domestically in the United States of America. So the idea that a report will be finalized in 60 days, let alone prior to any actionable decisions that would be made, is simply not acceptable. It has been 10 days since an assassination attempt on a former president of the United States, regardless of party. There need to be answers. Again, this party, this committee, this is not a moment of theater. We have to make policy decisions, and we have to make them now. We do. And that may be and that may require legislation. That may require policy that we must pass in the immediate term. And without that, we are flying blind. So the lack of answers and the lack of report is just simply not something that we can accept here. Director Cheatle, is there a standard perimeter that the Secret Service is?
So, and then she goes into further questioning. It's not really important to see exactly what she says. That's really what you need to see. You need to see that, yes, okay, she's going in, she's recognizing that it's unacceptable. She seems to be siding with Republicans on this issue. And you see that she says, like, okay, yeah, maybe she seems to be maybe defending Trump. Kind of, she's not really defending Trump. She's defending the idea that maybe he should have more Secret Service. However, I don't believe that just because AOC comes, that we should praise her for this. I don't believe her motives are right. I don't believe that, because we could see this as, oh my gosh, she's such a statesman. She can cut through the political partisanship and recognize the importance. I don't think it's about that. But I want to first go to another far left individual who gave a very face value good testimony, or not even, he wasn't giving the testimony, good line of questioning, in which it did even further get at the Secret Service director. And so this is Ro Khanna, who is a very far left Democrat. And you could see Cheatle thought that she was going to get a softball because this is a far left Democrat, but instead she got caught in the corner. Here's this.
Would you agree that this is the most serious security lapse since President Reagan was shot in 1981 of the Secret Service?
Yes, sir, I would.
And, do you know what Stuart Knight did when he was in charge at the time of the Secret Service? Do you know what he did afterwards?
He remained on duty.
He resigned. Would you agree that this is the
He
most...
resigned. So we have these individuals. Sorry, I'm just fact checking myself on something real quick. Yeah, okay. So we have these individuals, and I was right in what I was fact checking. You'll know soon enough. But we have these individuals who are Democrats and seem to be reaching across the aisle. And you have a few different ways you can look at this, and I'll tell you exactly how I looked at it. But you have these individuals. You have AOC, you have Ro Khanna, you had other Democrats who came back and said, and they gave the politically correct, the statesman answer of, we need Cheatle to resign. She obviously has failed her duties, was not able to answer the questions, failed in her duties to protect a former president. No matter how we feel about him, they always include that asterisk in there, no matter party, as AOC would say. And then they come out looking like I said before, these true statesmen. They're so great. They're so grand. They can reach across the aisle. They can find compromise. They can find the areas. And I see some comments in here. They were covering their asses because the next one shot could be Kamala. I don't know. They were of the mindset was their president could be shot too. Things like that. She was thinking change up and got the heat down and away. What they're thinking is, let's give them this, because Cheatle is not that important. Yes, she's the Secret Service director. Yes, she's a DEI hire. She was not hired because of her qualifications. She was hired because of the genitals she happens to have. So they're thinking, kick her out. She's not that important. But her boss, because who really handles Secret Service? Secret Service is like a subsector of Homeland Security. Her boss is Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secret Service director. Her boss is Alejandro Mayorkas, who just recently passed impeachment in the House. The impeachment fell flat in the Senate, or the removal from office fell flat from the Senate. One of Biden's cabinet members, Alejandro Mayorkas, who has been doing a terrible job with the border. That's what the impeachment was about. And then also, obviously, had a DEI hire for the secretary of, or not the secretary, the director of the Secret Service. So we have Alejandro Mayorkas, and then who is above Alejandro Mayorkas, who appointed Alejandro Mayorkas? Joe Biden. And so what the Democrats think is, hey, we can sacrifice this peanuts level director, chop her head off, because the real people behind this, the real people that should be answering the questions, the real people that may have a further hand in this or are much more negligible, are the Secretary of Homeland Security, the recently impeached Alejandro Mayorkas, and President of the United States, fumbling, bumbling, sleepy Joe Biden, and they are at fault. Whether by negligence or whether by negligence of ignorance or negligence of purpose, they are truly at fault. They are people that should be sitting, giving testimony. At least Alejandro Mayorkas. Because they have much more. And so these Democrats, it is not about reaching across the aisle. They'll take the political points that they're being handed. But the real issue on the table, the real thing they're trying to do is sweep this under the rug for a few reasons. One, they're hiding Alejandro Mayorkas. They're hiding that whole idea. But then along with that, they're also using it as a subsidiary, yes, to push their message on gun control a bit. But then even further than that, they're also thinking the assassination attempt is so good politically in terms of image for Donald Trump. Of course, God forbid that ever happen even in the first place or ever happen again. But they want to sweep it under the rug. They want to make it just be like, okay, it's gone. Doesn't matter. Also, by the way, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voted against the impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, just so you know. The ATF is also under Homeland Security, I believe, or at least affiliated with them. But he's not clear. He's not strictly ATF. He is Homeland Security as a whole. He is a cabinet member level, which is Secretary of Homeland Security. But yeah, so they're trying to sweep this under the rug. And this is the fastest way to do it. The fastest way to sweep this under the rug is to push the director out and force her to resign. Because then the idea is like, oh, okay, she's gone. We can replace her. All's well that ends well. We'll be better now. It'll all be okay. And to them, that's the fastest way to push it out of the headlines. I don't believe that AOC is actually the statesman, that she actually gives any kind of a crap. I don't believe Ro Khanna actually cares that much. I don't believe any of that. I believe that it was politically expedient for them to cross the aisle on something in which they don't actually have to make any real compromise. There's no real compromise happening there by them, but they are getting all the points as if they are. And so then we get into the resignation letter itself. This is Secret Service Director Kim Cheatle's resignation. This is per ABC, in which they have obtained the email she sent out to the workforce. We can read it right here. To the men and women of this U.S. Secret Service solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders and financial infrastructure. July 13th, we fell short in that mission. The scrutiny over the last week has been intense and will continue to remain as our operational tempo increases. As your director, I take full responsibility for the security lapse. However, this incident does not define us. We remain an organization based on integrity and staffed by individuals of exceptional dedication and talent. As I've stated, the Secret Service will move forward with our investigatory and protective mission in the steadfast manner. We do not retreat from the challenge. However, I do not want my calls for resignation to be a distraction from the great work each and every one of you do towards our vital mission. When I got the call asking if I would return to the Secret Service after my brief retirement, I did not hesitate. I love this agency, our mission, and the great men and women who will sacrifice so much every day. I have and will always put the needs of my agency first. In light of recent events, it is with heavy heart. In light of recent events, it is with a heavy heart I have made the difficult decision to step down as your director. When I assumed the role as your director, I pledged to do so with honor and integrity. These values have guided my entire career for 29 years. As many of you know, I served as a special agent for 27 years, securing events for Clinton, working as a supervisor for Cheney's detail, leading RTC, operating for Biden's detail as a VP, and finally overseeing the agency's protective mission under the Trump administration as ADOPO. As I stated at the hearing yesterday, all of you are worthy of trust and confidence. You deserve the nation's support in carrying out our critical mission. One of many things about the workforce is that men and women are fiercely committed to our mission. Thank you for all you do and will continue to do for our great nation. KAC Director. That's the email. I just find it very, very interesting that in it she says, in light of recent events. Nowhere in this does she really take so she says, I take full responsibility for the security lapse. She doesn't ever once mention the idea as to what exactly she did that actually caused that security lapse. Nowhere in there. Kind of breezes over that. never once mentions that, like, it's so hard that somebody died as a result of that security lapse. People are in critical condition. A former president was shot, almost killed. Like, this seems, I got to admit, and even the way that it's signed, and yes, I get it, this is an internal email, but signed KAC in lower caps, like this was typed on her iPhone. This seems so cash. Like, hey guys, I realize this has been a hard few weeks. And I know that a lot of it's my fault. So, peace out, Girl Scout. That's basically what she's saying here. That's essentially what she's saying. It's really, really what a. I feel like that's such a low expectation to at least have some level of reverence for resigning. But the thing is as I mentioned, we can't let this go. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. Even one like this, we even question, and even with the lack of answers in terms of that, I question, and a lot of people have been questioning this because of the lack of answers we got from her at the congressional hearing, because of her now resignation, her poor address, and other things. We question, was this an inside job? And this has been a question from the day of. Was this an inside job? It was even asked, in which she could not answer a certain question. We're going to get to that. But first, why am I asking this? Not just because, oh my gosh, there's verifiable proof that Kennedy was an inside job and all that stuff. No. So the Oversight Project, this is alleged. This is not necessarily verified. This is just my source and what I'm seeing. The Oversight Project, which is a part of the Heritage Foundation, reported that they found the assassination's connections through their in-depth analysis of mobile ad data to track movement of Crooks and his associates. To do this, we tracked devices that regularly visited both Crooks' home and a place of work and followed them. Someone who regularly visited Crooks' home and work also visited a building in Washington, D.C., located in Gallery Place. This is in the same vicinity of an FBI office on June 26, 2023. Whose device is this? Another device visited Plymouth, Massachusetts. We found a device linked to Crooks that traveled to Butler, PA. So that would be, this device stopped all activity on July 12th. On August 30th, 2023, one device linked to Crooks visited Alehi Arms. Here are the relevant locations within Bethel Park that are linked to both Crooks' home and place of work. You can see in this high school, YMCA, school district, work location, home location, gun works. These are all different places that would seem that Crooks had gone. And for those that are tracking this type of data, they identified devices that were located at Crooks' home and work within the past year. There were at least 9 devices linked to these ad IDs, some of which are related to the FBI or seem to be visiting a location near, if not at, as a lot of times this data can be approximate, but near an FBI office. We are willing to cooperate with a legitimate investigation for the protection of whistleblowers and our investigation. We will not be sharing further information with the Congressional Task Force due to the connective tissue between the entity and FBI, United States Secret Service, and other entities. So we're seeing a lot. And then we ask the question. We ask the question because I think a lot of us want to believe the story that we're being told, that this was just Crooks. He was this disgruntled young white man. We're still trying to work on figuring out motive. That question was asked. We didn't get an answer. But then we get questions asked like this, like Rep. Andy Biggs, who asked Kimberly Cheatle, did he work alone? Did he work alone?
Your agency has a no-fail mission, and on Saturday, July 13th, your agency spectacularly failed. The failure resulted in the death of Corey Comparator and serious injury to 2 other rally attendees, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, besides the injuries to President Trump. It is unfathomable that a 20-year-old on the radar of Secret Service and local law enforcement before President Trump went on stage was able to climb onto the roof of a building with a rifle and fire off multiple rounds before he was neutralized. Was Mr. Crooks acting alone?
Again, I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation.
Was he just a lone gunman?
I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation for motive.
Your agency has a no-fail mission, and on Saturday, July 3rd.
Look, I want to believe that he was just alone. That, like, I would like to believe that. I would like to believe. I hope and pray that our government would not be intentionally negligent, if not even play an active role in the assassination of a president. I recognize, to anybody out there who thinks I'm crazy, I recognize that it could sound crazy, but they're doing too good of a job. Kimberly Cheatle, the Secret Service, the FBI, our governmental institutions are doing too good of a job to make me think that there is some level of foul play here on the hand of our three-letter agencies. I've said it before on my show. I'm pretty sure if you go back, I know I have hours, hundreds, if not even thousands of hours of content, but I'm sure you go back about a year ago, I'm sure that I've talked about the idea that that they're about a situation, a hypothetical, in which our government plays a role in the assassination of Donald Trump. I'm sure I've talked about it. Not necessarily exactly like this, but I'm sure that I've talked about it at some point. And they're doing a damn good job of convincing me that they had a role to play in this. It's absolutely insane. And once again, similar to the Biden story of yesterday, we're getting more questions than we are answers. And so this even leads to further questions that are being asked even today. Even today, we're getting further questions. You guys might not have seen this because you might have seen a bunch of other headlines, some of which we're going to cover, such as the insurrection of pro-Hamas terrorist protesters are being mad that Netanyahu is coming to speak to Congress. And so they performed an insurrection that the mainstream media, the lamestream media didn't want to cover. But yes, pro-Hamas terrorists, domestic terrorists, insurrected the Capitol building. Nobody wanted to talk about that, apparently. But even while that was happening, speaking before the House Committee on Homeland Security on Tuesday, the commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police revealed that the Secret Service has refused to release to him the operations plans that they had for the day of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. So we're asking the questions. We asked the questions of now former Secretary or Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle, but now even the police who are trying to cooperate, who are trying to bring this to light, who are trying to get to the bottom of this, bring answers to the public, let the American people, let even former President Donald Trump and the victims' families know what happened. They are trying to ask the questions of the Secret Service, of the FBI, and there are none. Colonel Christopher L. Phares, commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Police, noted he had asked for the Secret Service operations plans for the day, but had yet to receive it. Take a look at the exact statements made by this colonel today. This is today, Tuesday, July 23rd, to the same committee.
Do you know if in this particular case, I mean, normally they sweep these sites with dogs. Was a K-9 team used here for this event?
I do not know. I have not seen the Secret Service operations plan. I've asked for it. I've yet to receive it. I did double check. That was something that PSP could typically offer to the Secret Service if they requested it. And I did verify that in this event, we did not provide any dogs.
Okay. As I understand it, there wasn't one, but you'd expect one in a situation like this.
So I want to be clear that when the Secret Service interfaces with the state police for whatever protectee and level of protection they're endeavoring to provide, the Secret Service is the lead agency. So as per the earlier statement of 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the United States, it would be very difficult, I would assert, for the Secret Service to operate all across the United States and have each individual agency telling the Secret Service how the operation should be run. They're the lead agency. If that was something that their protocols called for during the initial meeting when preliminary steps and agencies were brought together, that would be something that would be discussed typically.
Do you know if
So they're not even getting answers here. The Pennsylvania State Police, who's trying to cooperate and help out with the investigation. Nothing's happening. Nothing happened. They're not learning anything. No one's learning anything. We cannot allow, and this is why I say the Democrats, they're trying to sweep this under the rug. They're trying to say, get rid of Cheatle. Small potatoes. It's like one of those dragons. It's like one of those dragons where like you cut off the head and then like 2 more, 3 more appear in its place. We got rid of the Secret Service director. Now the new one, I hear, isn't much to brag about either. The acting isn't much to brag about either. We have Mayorkas, who's still the head honcho of the Secret Service and a few other agencies due to being part of Homeland Security. He got impeached. Then we have Joe Biden. We're going to talk more about Joe Biden and do a little check-in with him. But yeah, that's what we have. But we're still going to get answers. We're demanding answers, and it seems like Congress isn't totally letting up either. In fact, we can even take a look and listen here, because Director Cheatle did answer the calls to resign, and this is from Speaker Mike Johnson. Speaker Mike Johnson. And now he says that there's going to be a special task force directly about this. And so let's take a look and a listen to what he had to say earlier today.
The immediate reaction to her resignation is that it is overdue. She should have done this at least a week ago. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that she has heeded the call of both Republicans and Democrats. Now we have to pick up the pieces. We have to rebuild the American people's faith and trust in the Secret Service as an agency. It has an incredibly important responsibility in protecting presidents, former presidents, and other officials in the executive branch. And we've got a lot of work to do. The task force that we'll be putting together is going to be very important. As I said, they have 3 responsibilities: to investigate what happened, the debacle that happened 2 Saturdays ago, to hold those accountable. It certainly was the director, Cheatle, but there may be others in the line of authority who are also culpable in what happened and the errors and mistakes there. And finally, to ensure that those mistakes do not happen again. The stakes are too high. It's a very dangerous time. We need the Secret Service to be acting to be performing at the top of their game, and we'll ensure that that happens. I hope that the interim director or whomever is appointed to replace Director Cheatle will be very sober-minded about the responsibility and take into account the very dangerous times in which we live. We'll do everything we can in the House to ensure that that's true, and I think our task force's work just got even more important.
Absolutely. I mean, we have so many more questions we need to be answered. Like Mike Johnson, it seems like we're going to be working on getting them, and we cannot allow the Democrats to get what they want, that we're just going to let it slide under the rug. That we're just going to let it slide under the rug. Like I believe AOC, Ro Khanna, and plenty of others would like. So let's get this quote unquote bipartisan task force going and see what happens. Let's see what happens. I really do hope that it works out and that we get the answers that we deserve. I hope. My faith in the government is comparable to the Ryan Mack shows. I'll say that. But we can always have hope. We can always have hope. That's what I firmly believe. But that is everything that I've been able to find regarding that other massive story that's come out within the last few days. Obviously, we had Biden. We had and everything that's going on with Biden. We're going to do an update with him soon here briefly. And then we've also had a few other things. And we're going to talk about those. But that is everything with the updates that we know about, like one of the most historic stories. Like, that's the fascinating thing to me is, like I said yesterday, I went through a timeline of just what's happened within the last month of political news. And it's crazy to me. Like, I haven't had time to cover any of my cultural stories. I have cultural stories galore to discuss. I have cultural stories galore. You guys know what raw dogging on an airplane means? I guarantee you don't. Or at least you don't know. It's not what it sounds like. And it's not going to make you happy once you hear what it is. It doesn't make me happy to hear what I thought it was at first. And it's not, no. But I'll have a short that'll talk about raw dogging in an airplane. It's not going to be during this live stream, but it'll come up. We're going to do a check-in on Biden. We're going to do a check-in on Trump. We're going to do a check-in on Kamala and all that coming up here in a moment on Speechless, right after a word from my sponsor, Freedom 2-Up. Absolutely. Drink Freedom 2.0, guys. You guys can go to freedom20.com, get some great water. All you got to do is use code USA at checkout, and you'd be able to get some great Freedom 2.0. And you could have, I mean, if you need to hydrate, I know this is about the raw dogging on the airplane, but this is save it for the bedroom. If you need to hydrate because that's what you're doing and you don't want to be gay, I mean, there's no fluoride in this water. Fluoride turns the frogs gay, as Alex Jones says. And so if you want to avoid that, drink some Freedom 2.0, use code USA at checkout, get 15% off. I recommend it. And you'd also be supporting a guy like me who's just trying to bring you guys some news that's in a different way, that nobody else is going to bring it to you. And so that's why I always encourage you guys, and I'd appreciate if you would like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. I went on my massive rant last night as to why it's important to do all of those things, especially subscribing, commenting, and sharing. And so I'd appreciate it if you would still consider doing all of those things. But in other news, Biden has apparently answered my question as of last night. I was asking last night, all night. I was looking around. I was like, hello? Is he under there? Is he around there? So I was just like looking for the amount of fucks I give about certain things. I couldn't find him. And I said, where is Biden? Where is Biden? And I couldn't find him. Where's Biden? Couldn't find him. It's like a Dr. Seuss book or something. Where's Biden? Couldn't find him. But he answered my question. At least someone did, by dragging him out, or at least a body double. Who really knows? Allegedly, for legal reasons, allegedly. But he made his first public appearance since announcing he was stepping it down today. President Joe Biden made his first public appearance in 6 days on Tuesday. Also his first appearance since announcing that he had tested positive for COVID again. And his first since announcing via letter posted on X that he was dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. Biden was captured on video exiting a vehicle at Dover Air Force Base, where he paused briefly to engage with reporters. And I will tell you, this was the reason why I'm convinced that this actually was Biden and not a body double. But I will still ask the question, do you believe this is actually Joe Biden? The reason why I do believe is because of what we're about to see. So Biden makes his first appearance. Where was Biden? Here he is. So,
President, how are you feeling? Mr. President, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Huh?
Come talk to us. How are you feeling since you dropped out of the race, sir? How are you feeling about Harris's campaign? Can Harris beat Trump? Can Harris beat Trump, Mr. President?
I love it. Watch that again. Like when they're trying to ask him questions and he stops. I think it's one of the funniest things. We're going to go back. We'll watch this whole thing again. This is just funny. I mean, this is the first time we see the guy. Let's make sure it's really him. Here we go.
Mr. President, how are you feeling?
How are you feeling?
Mr. President, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Huh? What?
Come talk to us.
Come talk to us.
How are you feeling?
And he gives like that half-hearted. I want to get that on screen right there. Look at the little right there. That's the president of the United States, everybody. Goes missing for 6 days. Goes missing for 6 days. Announces one of the most unprecedented announcements in political history. And he's like, what? Huh? I'll give him that it's probably loud out there. I mean, it's loud with the airplane and everything. But like, what? Huh? Thumbs up.
How are you feeling since you dropped out of the race, sir? How are you feeling about Harris's campaign? Can Harris beat
Now we got
Trump?
the stairs.
Can Harris beat Trump, Mr. President?
Let's see if he makes it all the way up. Is he going to make it? He made it all the way up, all on his own. Congratulations, Mr. President. Stairs were no match for you that time. Oh, he's still got a little bit more. I lied. He must have just taken a break right there. Let's watch one more time because I think he took a break and I thought he was at the top. All right, just switch to the other railing. I celebrated too soon. I'm sorry, but it does look like he made it all the way to the top. Let's see how he finishes out this stair climb.
Well, they gave it the old college try. They tried.
Give it the old college try. The iconic. Why does he literally look like right here? Right there. I have something specific I want to show everybody, and this is exactly what I think he looks like. This is, I'm not even kidding you. This is exactly what I think he looks like. If you look at, wait, let's find it here. I'm going to pull it up because this is exactly what I think he looks like. Oh, somebody, it's, you guys probably know this. I was not planning on doing this. It's just, I get these thoughts in my head and I go on these trains. And so this is what I see. Somebody even made, here we go. This is exactly what I saw right there. This is what I see. That's what I see. That's Joe Biden right there, everybody. That's Walter from Jeff Dunham. You didn't bring it back here. Looks just like that. Just like that. That's Walter the puppet. Right there. That's our president, everybody. Hey, and I guess it's even more fitting that he's called a puppet. Ryan Mack show was a lot nicer to him, called him a Ken doll. I wouldn't be that nice to him. Look like a Ken doll? Come on. That's funny. Sounds like I know. I think I get that joke. I'm 23 though, so it couldn't be me. All righty. But that's checking in on Biden. And it's also important to note that it was stated that Biden, it was announced. And so I guess I also have an announcement. Breaking news. I'll bring that up on screen. Yeah. Breaking news, everybody. This is a small announcement. You guys probably expected it. But Biden's team has announced that he plans to address the nation on Wednesday, tomorrow, a full 3 days after he announced his plan to step down and not accept the Democrat Party's 2024 nomination. In the days since, Vice President Kamala Harris, whom Biden has endorsed, has seen a fundraising boom after amassing the necessary delegates, declared herself the de facto Dem presidential nominee. And just in case you guys were wondering, yes, tomorrow, the Wednesday plan to address the nation from Joe Biden, I will, in fact, be covering that. And so if you'd like to see my live color commentary, don't miss it. You can subscribe to this channel, ring that notification bell, hit it to all. Whenever it happens tomorrow, I'll start about, I think it's tomorrow evening. I believe the plan is around 7:30 Eastern time, which means I'll go, or maybe it's 7 Eastern time, and I will begin about a half hour before that, kind of talk about what the news is discussing, what we're prepping for, what we're expecting, and I will be covering that live tomorrow. If you'd like to see my color commentary uninterrupted of sleepy Joe Biden, I will cover it right here on Speechless with Kev Phares. You guys will see it right here. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff. But that's what's going on with him. And as I mentioned, Kamala Harris has seen a fundraising boom recently. She really has. She saw a fundraising boom, and she seems to also have a lot of people coming out and endorsing her. She's secured the enough delegates to be considered the nominee. Like I said last night, it would seem as though that was, while people were floating Michelle, there were talks about other people. Now it's really a conversation of who her VP is going to be. And a lot of the Democrat establishment has come out and given her the blessing. Vice President Kamala Harris further solidified her support base on Tuesday with endorsements of many top-ranking Democrats. I believe this one is unconfirmed, but I believe Nancy Pelosi just recently came out and gave her an endorsement. But then we also had huge, these are big Democrat endorsements right here, because for some reason people still have any kind of respect for these people. But there were two big ones today, and that was Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Obviously, Hakeem Jeffries is the ranking member of the House. Chuck Schumer is the ranking member of the Democrats in the Senate. And so I want to share exactly, I think, so I could share their whole speeches. It's really not that important to me. They came out and they endorsed her. But there is parts of their speeches that I think are just really funny and important and interesting to watch. And so if we watch, this is Chuck Schumer twice at this appearance, twice when he was endorsing Kamala, twice. This is what happened, twice. Here's the first one.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up. We are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
That was one of the most awkward interactions I've ever seen. Once again, watch the awkward clap.
Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
So he was expecting an applause, and they didn't. That was just, remember, that was just one time during the speech. That was just one time. And that was near the beginning, and that's when he said, we're going to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. And he was expecting claps, claps, claps. No one did. It was funny. Awkward. But then, and if it happened one time, it would be awkward. It would still make headlines. But I think the funniest is then later on, he then says, our next president, Kamala Harris. He tries to go a little bit further and expects something very comparable. Watch this one.
And become the next president of the United States of America. Applause. Hakeem.
Applause. He's waiting for applause. Never happens. And it seems to remind me very similarly of another instance in American politics, in which a politician, a very well-known politician, somebody who was expected to win a certain presidential primary back in 2016, had a very interesting and awkward and sad moment that became a meme even to this day. So take a look and listen. This is Jeb Bush having almost the exact same thing happen to him.
So here's my pledge to you. I will be a commander-in-chief that will have the back of the military. I won't trash talk. I won't be a divider-in-chief or an agitator-in-chief. I won't be out there blowharding, talking a big game without backing it up. I think the next president needs to be a lot quieter, but send a signal that we're prepared to act in the national security interests of this country to get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
Please clap. It's so sad. It's so sad to watch that. And Chucky Schumer got that during his endorsement, and he was standing up there and he was all excited and he was like, "Oh my God, it's gonna happen." We can even watch one more time. We'll watch that last one one more time right here. I'll pull it up right here. I let it go, but here we go. We'll watch that one more time. This is Chuck Schumer, just because I think it's just so funny and it's worth laughing at. Here's this.
And become the next president of the United States of America. Applause. Hakeem. And become the next president of the United States of America. Applause.
Oh my God. What you're supposed to do in an instance like that is you're supposed to be like, okay, I guess no one's clapping. I'll just move on. Because you do usually, if you're somebody who writes speeches, who gives speeches often, I give my fair share. You kind of plan for times in your prepared remarks of which there might be reaction from the audience, whether that's applause or booing or laughing. And so then you know to pause because you want to make sure people hear everything you say. But if people don't applaud when you expect them to, that also just shows the massive ego that these people have. They're like, well, that's a moment you were supposed to clap. That's a moment you were supposed to clap. Obviously, you didn't do a good enough job, or you didn't make it clear enough. A lot of times in your cadence, the way you say something, the way you lead something up to, people know that they're supposed to applaud. But maybe it's also not the event in which they believe applause is necessary. Move on and don't recognize it. Otherwise, you make yourself look like an absolute fool. But these people have been so used to having everybody just like kind of do everything for them and be praised and put on this pedestal for so long that they expect that to happen. This is a perfect statement. Trump does not need to ask for a response. He gets what he deserves. Sometimes it's a standing ovation. Sometimes it's a laugh. Sometimes it's a boo. It's whatever. But he never has had to ask for a reaction. He gets the reaction he demands through the way he speaks. But I think it is important while we have an instance of it seems like a rocky start to Kamala's campaign. She did have her first rally today. She had her meeting yesterday with her campaign office, her announcement of candidacy and everything like that. But she did have her first rally today. And so we could take a look at this. It was boastful. There were about 3,000 people at the Wisconsin rally for VP Kamala Harris. This is inside a high school gym in West Allis, Wisconsin. Her first rally as a presidential candidate since Biden dropped out. In fact, even during this, you can hear it does seem like a lot of people. I'll admit, like I won't say that it wasn't. It seems like she got a lot of support at this Wisconsin gym for her. Even during it, there were chants of lock him up. We can take a look and listen to this. You had people screaming, lock him up. She leaned significantly on her prosecutor record, saying, I'm going to prosecute. I have a history being a prosecutor, and he's a convicted felon, blah, blah, blah. It's the same line you're going to hear and it's going to be just repeating, so that hopefully she can try to brainwash you in what little time she has left. But that's what's going to keep happening. And she's going to keep trying to do that. And if you follow me, guys, I'm going to keep exposing Kamala Harris. I'm going to keep, there's a massive record that she has that if you follow, I'm going to, in shorts form, I'm going to keep covering a lot of the things. I did one earlier today about her as being, as hating young people and thinking they're stupid. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But with even this crowd size being bigger than pretty much any, I believe this is record breaking for Biden Harris. This is the largest rally they have ever held, or largest small donor rally, I guess, that they've ever held. But that said, let's even compare that. Well, I'll compliment her and say good job. Relatively for the Democrats and for your guys' presidential candidacy, that's pretty good. Let's compare that to the crowd size that Donald Trump had back on May 11th, 2024. If you guys remember this is the crowd reaches just about 100,000 people, breaking historic records in Deep Blue, New Jersey. We'll watch this clip right here.
People here. There's so many people here. Man, over 100,000 people. This is supposed to be, they thought they'd hit 40. So they more than doubled it, but you can't even see the end. I wish we didn't have the press here. I wish we moved them the hell back so they'd have, because they can't see in the back. I always tell the press, turn your cameras around to show the audience, okay? They never do it. Look, fake news. They never do it. They never do it.
They never do it. And you guys you can hear the audience in the background too.
They never do it.
So he has got a much bigger crowd comparatively. So Kamala, take your 3,000. We'll raise you the 100,000 in a deep blue state while you're in a swing state, Wisconsin. Come on. We're in deep blue, New Jersey, and we get 100,000, and it was estimated 40,000, over 200 times the amount of people. Come on. Yeah. So that's, or 200% over, come on, you're losing. But it does make me question. That's kind of what's up with Kamala. It does make me question, what is Donald Trump up to? What is he up to? Well, he did have an amazing interview last night with Jesse Waters. It was a great interview, maybe one of the best. And it was one of his first sit-down interviews since having J.D. Vance with him as his vice presidential pick. And so it was a great interview. They talked a lot about the assassination attempt. They talked about the Secret Service director. And I do recommend you guys go check it out, watch it. There's probably some questions in there. I don't have time on tonight's show to cover all of it. But frankly, my favorite part of this, which I thought was worth sharing, and it's the most important moment of the interview, in my opinion, was right here. When he's asked the question regarding why he chose J.D. Vance as his VP.
Why did you pick J.D. Vance?
We've always had a good chemistry, and originally JD was probably not for me, but he didn't know me. And then when we got to know each other, he liked me maybe more than anybody liked me, and he would stick up for me, and he'd fight for the worker as much as I fight for the worker. We just had an automatic chemistry, and I actually endorsed him in Ohio for the Senate, and he ended up winning against a very tough field. And he wrote a book which was a classic, as you know. And it was all about the working men and women. And how they aren't being treated fairly, and he was right about that, and I understood that maybe better than anyone else. And we just have had a great relationship. And he had serious competition. We had tremendous people, all of them, every one of them.
You
But
beat
in
out
the
a
end,
lot of very important people.
Very impressive people.
When you, why did you?
So I think it's really important to see that because he explains himself. He's like, here's why I chose JD Vance. And you have a lot of people on the left, and you can even see Ryan Max is here, the left, that especially people on the left. And I talked about this in a JD Vance video like a week ago. A lot of people are trying to paint as if Trump hates Vance and Vance actually hates Trump. And they're trying to sow division because of how divided their party currently is. Even it's hard for their party to actually get behind Kamala, and that's being shown. They feel like they're having to force and beg for people to come behind Kamala. It's just not it's just not working out the way that they want it to. But as we think about a little bit more about Trump, we also have the announcement that he's going to be meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. We could see here, and I know the question was asked earlier if Netanyahu came alone. We'll talk about that, but I want to first cover this. So Donald Trump on Truth Social announced, looking forward to welcoming Bibi Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida on Thursday. During my first term, we had peace and stability in the region, even signing the historic Abraham Accords, and we will have it again. Just as I said in discussions with Zelensky and other world leaders in recent weeks, my peace through strength agenda will demonstrate to the world that these horrible, deadly wars and violent conflicts must end. Millions are dying, and Kamala is in no way capable of stopping it. Absolutely correct. But it's just a very interesting announcement because here is how Benjamin Netanyahu, because the Democrats are facing kind of an identity crisis because they have their establishment wing of the party who for pretty much the entire, for the full 21st century and even before that has been, everybody has kind of agreed we support Israel, we support Israel, we support Israel. And while I question support for Israel, I am more on the side of Israel than I am of Palestine. And this leader, who we do currently give a lot of money to, whether we like it or not, has come to the States. And the question was asked, did Netanyahu arrive alone? And well, according to the reports I've seen, he did. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu and his wife Sarah just arrived in Washington, D.C. This was yesterday evening, and neither Joe Biden or Kamala Harris were there to greet him. They didn't even give Netanyahu a proper diplomatic welcome as an ally to the United States. Here is that arrival. Sorry for that really loud screech. What's happening there is actually apologies from the few diplomats that were there. And so yes, he did arrive alone. We obviously just read through the Truth Social post that was made regarding all of that. The White House, and this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal because right now, technically, okay, so President Trump is technically the nominated Republican nominee. He's nominated as the Republican candidate for president, but he doesn't currently hold a single political office, an elected office. And so, well, it's not necessarily unusual or like it's not out of the realm of possibility for a presidential candidate to be meeting in some way with world leaders, especially during conflict. It is odd because he is currently a private citizen, technically. Like technically he is in some, I mean, he's a former president. But he is kind of a private citizen. So the White House, it's important to note, canceled Netanyahu's planned visit today with President Joe Biden after the latter was diagnosed with COVID. Biden is now scheduled to meet with Netanyahu on Thursday, so a reschedule there. Netanyahu will address a joint session of Congress tomorrow, the main purpose of the visit. VP Kamala Harris, now the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, will not attend. She won't attend this speech, which many are finding really interesting. But what's really interesting about this is it's not for anything incredible. It's not for helping out with the border or solving issues. No, the reason Vice President Kamala Harris will not attend is because instead she's going to attend a convention for the historically Black Zeta Phi Beta sorority. That's what she's going to. She's not going to be the vice president. She's not going to preside over the Senate, which is one of her duties as vice president. She's not going to see the prime minister of Israel, who is immersed in a conflict with Palestine and Hamas, and we are sending a lot of money. No. Instead, she's going to a sorority party. That's our vice president. Isn't it just perfectly emblematic of the vice president, now presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, the person who seemed to get to where she is through lewd activities, decides to go to a sorority party rather than attending to her duties? Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Ben Cardin will preside over the joint session instead, despite it being Kamala's duty. And in fact, actually, Mike Johnson had a lot to say about this. Let's take a look and a listen as to see what Speaker of the House Mike Johnson commented regarding this situation. Sorry, the audio was muted. I'll get that fixed right here.
Alone. It has never been more important than it is right now for us to stand with our closest ally in the Middle East and our traditional partner in all these things. And it is outrageous to me and inexcusable that, as the leader mentioned, that Kamala Harris is boycotting this joint session. This is an historic moment. It's an important moment for the country for all the reasons we've said. The gravity of the situation cannot be overstated. And yet, Kamala Harris will abandon her seat. As you all know, as the vice president and as serving as the president of the Senate, she is supposed to be seated next to me at the rostrum. She will not be there because she refuses to attend. She needs to be held accountable for that, and she needs to be asked very searing questions about why. They went down the roster to find out who else would sit in the seat. Senator Patty Murray declined the opportunity as well. She will also boycott the event, skip the speech. They landed on Senator Cardin, who is retiring from the Senate, so has little political risk. The idea that they're making political calculations when our ally is in such dire straits, fighting for its very survival and fighting back against the horrific attack in October is unconscionable to us. America's relationship with Israel has always been bipartisan, and it should stay that way. With that, I'll take a few.
Yeah, and so then he ended up taking questions, pretty low ball stuff, nothing all that interesting. But it's very interesting that's so Netanyahu will be going. The only person of serious power in this current presidential election, Donald Trump, is the one that will take the prime minister of our current ally, the one that will actually make time for Biden, puts him off, says not till Thursday. And it was also in limbo for a while, didn't tell him for quite a while what it was actually going to happen. So that was so respectful of the prime minister. Kamala skips the event that she's expected and supposed to be at to go to a sorority party. And then whether or not you like the guy, whether or not you support the idea of being with Israel, like that's not the point. He is a prime minister of another country coming to address, and you have a duty to be there, and you're skipping it for a sorority party. Fascinating. And so there's that. And then along with that, there's also, and then the only one that is taking him is Donald Trump. The only one that is taking him is Donald Trump. Donald Trump would take a meeting with any world leader. Kim Jong-un, Putin, Zelensky, Netanyahu, Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh, anyone. He would. And he would still take those meetings. Even as the candidate, even as somebody who technically has zero political power as an individual. Yes, he has political swing as the former president. He has influence over peoples of Congress, over elections to some extent. Like his word has weight. But as an individual who has no singular political power, is taking a meeting, it's really promising. They're treating Donald Trump as if he basically is the acting president. Because the writing is on the wall. The writing has been on the wall. The writing will be on the wall. It's Sharpie, not pencil. So we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see it happen. But the thing is that I will say is that good memes, a follow, like, subscribe, everything like that ultimately, as much as I want you guys to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, as much as those things are appreciated and as much as they can do to help people wake up, they don't actually equate to votes. Or at least they're not a vote in and of themselves. While they might be a vote for me in that I do a good job in getting out some of the ideas that many people seem to hold, it is not ultimately a vote. And so please do those things, but also let the rubber of your shoes hit the road as you go to vote, vote, vote for Donald Trump. Because while he should be and has the votes to be the president of the United States, the 47th, it will only happen if we make it too big to rig. So go vote. And right now, to prepare for voting, vote for me. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. That's all that I have time for tonight, guys. Please be ready tomorrow. I will be covering the Joe Biden conference, press conference, whatever he's going to do to discuss his retiring from the campaign and maybe even stepping down as president. Who knows? If you want my color commentary, maybe even a panel of people, please don't forget to tune in, everything like that. Thank you. And once again, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment down at the bottom, not just in the live section, but also right down at the bottom. Like, subscribe, share, comment, ring that notification bell, hit it to all. God bless you. God bless America. And thank you for tuning in to me, Kev Phares, on Speechless.